The warning alarm screamed across Border Station Omega-7. Commander Thexvor rushed to the main screen, his four eyes widening at what he saw. Something massive had just appeared at the edge of Vexil Empire space. Something that should not exist. Report. Thexvor barked at his crew. Unknown vessel, sir. It just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The size readings must be wrong. The sensor officer's voice shook slightly. Thexvor stared at the numbers. 12 kilometers long. That was impossible. The largest Vexil battleship was only 3 kilometers. No species in the galaxy built ships that big. It would require too much power. Too many resources. It simply could not be done. Fix your sensors. Those readings are clearly broken. Thexvor ordered. I've checked 3 times, sir. The readings are correct. That ship is 12 kilometers long. The massive vessel hung in space like a sleeping giant. Its hull was dark gray, covered in strange markings. Weapon ports lined its sides. Thexvor counted at least 200 visible cannons, and he suspected there were many more hidden beneath the armor plating. Hail them. Demand identification, Thexvor said. He tried to keep his voice steady. In his 200 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. The communication officer worked quickly. Channel open, sir. Thexvor straightened his uniform. Whoever these beings were, they were in Vexil space now. They would learn to respect the Empire's power. Unknown vessel. You have entered Vexil Empire territory without permission. Identify yourself immediately and prepare to be boarded. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of your ship. For a long moment, there was silence. Then the screen flickered to life. A being appeared on the screen. It had only 2 eyes, strange flat features, and no natural armor. It wore a dark blue uniform with golden markings. Behind it, Thexvor could see a massive bridge filled with other crew members of the same species. The technology looked clean and efficient. This is Captain Day Han of the Earth vessel Goliath's Fist. We are humans and we come in peace. We're exploring this region of space and mean no harm. We simply request safe passage through your territory. Thexvor felt anger rising in his chest. This creature, this human, spoke so calmly, as if they were equals, as if that massive ship gave them the right to make demands. I am Commander Thexvor of the Vexil Empire. Your request is denied. You will surrender your ship immediately. We do not recognize this Earth or your right to travel through our space. Captain Day Han's expression did not change. His face remained calm, almost pleasant. Commander, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. We're new to this region. We didn't know this was your territory. If you'll allow us to pass through, we'll make note of your borders for future reference. Silence, Thexvor roared. You will not dictate terms to the Vexil Empire. We have ruled this sector for 3,000 years. Your species is unknown to us, which means you are primitives who stumbled upon stolen technology. On the screen, another human stepped into view. This one was female with short dark hair. She leaned close to Captain Day Han and whispered something. The captain nodded slightly. Commander Thexvor, the captain said, his voice still maddeningly calm. My tactical officer informs me that you're gathering ships around us. I strongly advise against hostile action. We really do wish to leave peacefully. Thexvor laughed. Around him, his bridge crew joined in. These humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Did they not realize they were surrounded? You're in no position to give advice, Thexvor said. I have 50 warships preparing to engage you. Your single vessel, no matter how large, cannot stand against the might of the Vexil Empire. Surrender now and your crew will be taken as prisoners. Resist, and you will be destroyed. He cut the communication before the human could respond. The screen went dark. Deploy the fleet, Thexvor ordered. Full battle formation. I want that ship surrounded. If they try to run, destroy their engines. If they fight back, destroy them completely. Throughout the border region, Vexil warships powered up their weapons. They moved into position around the human vessel like hunters surrounding prey. 50 ships, each armed with plasma cannons capable of melting through solid rock. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Aboard the Goliath's Fist, Captain Day Han sat in his command chair. He looked tired. Around him, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Status report, Day Han said. Commander Unikang, the tactical officer, studied her screens. 50 enemy vessels in formation. They're using standard encirclement tactics. Their weapons are charging. Looks like plasma-based technology. Relatively primitive focusing arrays. Ship classes range from destroyers to battleships. Their largest ship? Day Han asked. 3 kilometers. About a quarter of our size. Daehan nodded slowly. He tapped his fingers on the armrest of his chair. Engineer Choi, what's our reactor status? From the engineering station, Engineer Bin Choi responded immediately. Reactor running at 18% capacity, sir. All systems green. Shields are ready. Weapons are ready. We have more than enough power for whatever you need. Communications, get me Admiral Park on Earth. Lieutenant Yoon Jo worked her console. Channel open, sir. Time delay is 7 seconds due to distance. Admiral Hana Park appeared on a smaller screen. She was older than Daehan, her hair showing streaks of gray. Her uniform bore the insignia of Earth Defense Force Commander. Hana, we have a situation, Daehan said, using her first name in the informal way old friends did. Local power called the Vexel Empire. 50 ships. They're not interested in talking. Admiral Park listened to his brief explanation. 7 seconds later, her response came. Your discretion, Day. Rules of engagement are standard. Defend yourself, but remember who we are. We're not conquerors. Understood. Daehan closed the channel. He looked around his bridge. His crew had been with him for 3 years. They had trained together, lived together, become a family. Now they would face their first real combat situation together. Listen up, Daehan said. We're about to show these Vexel what human engineering can do. But remember, our goal is not to kill. Our goal is to survive and make them understand that we're not prey. We use minimum force necessary. Is that clear? Yes, sir. The bridge crew responded as one. Unit checked her tactical display. Captain, enemy weapons are fully charged. They're preparing to fire. Daehan took a deep breath. Raise shields to full power. All weapon systems online. But nobody fires until I give the order. Shields up, reported Lieutenant Jin Lee from the shield operations station. Power at maximum. We're ready. Dr. Rena Song, the chief science officer, spoke up. Captain, I'm detecting a communication pulse from the Vexel flagship. It's being broadcast to their entire fleet. What does it say? It's a single word in their language. I believe it translates to fire. Daehan gripped his armrests. Here we go. Everyone hold steady. Space lit up with fire. 50 Vexel ships unleashed their weapons simultaneously. Hundreds of plasma bolts, each one burning with the heat of a small star, streaked across the darkness toward the Goliath's fist. The human ship waited silently as death raced toward it. Commander Thexivor watched his screens with satisfaction. His weapons officer counted down. Impact in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The entire Vexel fleet watched as their weapons struck the human vessel. Plasma energy, enough to vaporize solid titanium, splashed across the human ship's shields. The light was so bright that viewing screens automatically dimmed to protect their viewers' eyes. When the light faded, Thexivor expected to see debris. He expected to see a burning hull. He expected victory. Instead, the human ship floated exactly where it had been, undamaged, unmoved, as if nothing had happened at all. Impossible, Thexivor whispered. His sensor officer's voice cracked with disbelief. Sir, their shields absorbed everything. Shield strength reading is 98%. They barely felt it. Thexivor stared at the screen. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Inside the Goliath's fist, Captain Daehan allowed himself a small smile. Well, that was rude. Yuna, prepare to return fire. But remember, shields only. No hull damage. Understood, sir. Targeting solutions ready. Daehan opened a communication channel to the Vexel fleet. His voice was still calm, but now there was an edge to it. Commander Thexivor, you have fired upon an Earth vessel. We have withstood your attack without difficulty. I'm going to give you one more chance to stand down and talk like civilized beings. If you attack again, we will respond, and you will not enjoy it. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson. Humanity did not start fights, but they certainly knew how to finish them. Commander Thexivor felt his blood turn cold. Around him, his bridge crew sat frozen in shock. The impossible had just happened. Their most powerful weapons had failed completely. Fire again, Thexivor screamed. All ships maximum power. Concentrate all fire on a single point. The Vexel fleet obeyed. This time every ship focused their weapons on one section of the human vessel's shields. Plasma bolts, missiles, and particle beams all struck the same spot. The combined firepower could have destroyed an entire city in seconds. The human ship's shields flickered slightly. That was all. Shield status? Thexivor demanded. Target shields now at 96%, sir. They're holding. The sensor officer's hands trembled as he checked his readings again.
Sir, I don't understand.
Our weapons should have penetrated by now. Their shield technology is beyond anything in our database. Aboard the Goliath's Fist, Lieutenant Jin Lee monitored the shield systems. She was young, only 26 years old, but she was the best shield operator in the Earth Defense Force. Her fingers danced across her console. Captain, enemy fire is focusing on Section 7. Redistributing power to compensate, Jin reported. Shield strength holding at 96%. No stress on the generators. Engineer Bin Choi spoke up from his station. Captain, we're barely using any power. Reactor output is at 23%. We could maintain these shields for days without issue. Dr. Rena Song studied her science screens with interest. She pushed her glasses up on her nose and turned to Captain Daehan. Captain, I've analyzed their weapons. The technology is actually quite impressive for plasma-based systems, but their focusing arrays are outdated. They're losing at least 30% of their energy to dispersion before the plasma even reaches our shields. Could we upgrade their weapons? Daehan asked. Rena smiled slightly. In theory, yes, but even with perfect focusing, their plasma wouldn't penetrate our shields. Our shielding technology evolved from containing fusion reactions. We literally had to learn how to hold back the power of stars. Their weapons just don't generate enough energy. Commander Yuna Kang listened to this conversation while monitoring the tactical situation. She had served with Daehan for 5 years and knew him well. He was a peaceful man who hated violence, but he was also a realist who understood that sometimes peace required strength. Captain, Yuna said, the enemy fleet is preparing another volley. They're not stopping, Daehan sighed. He looked tired. Hail them again. Lieutenant Yunjo opened the communication channel. Channel open, sir. Commander Thexvor, Daehan said, you've now attacked us twice. Both times your weapons have proven ineffective. Please stand down before someone gets hurt. On the Vexil flagship, Thexvor's face twisted with rage. How dare this human speak to him with such confidence? How dare they make him look weak in front of his crew? Never! Thexvor shouted. You may have strong shields, but no ship is invincible. All vessels close to point-blank range. We will overwhelm them. The Vexil fleet began moving closer to the Goliath's Fist. Standard doctrine said that plasma weapons became more effective at close range because there was less distance for the energy to dissipate. Yuna watched them approach. Captain, they're moving within 500 kilometers, practically touching distance in space combat. Let them come, Daehan said quietly. The Vexil ships surrounded the human vessel from all sides. They were so close now that their hulls appeared massive on the visual screens. Thexvor gave the order and his fleet fired again. At this range, the plasma was incredibly concentrated. The heat was so intense that several Vexil ships had to reinforce their own shields to protect themselves from the reflected energy. The barrage continued for a full minute. Inside the Goliath's Fist, the crew barely noticed. The shields held firm. A few crew members continued their normal duties, not even bothering to watch the attack. Shield strength at 94%, Jin reported, sounding almost bored. Enemy weapons are overheating. I think they're about to stop, she was right. One by one, the Vexil ships ceased fire. Their weapons had overheated from sustained discharge. Some ships were venting excess heat into space through emergency systems. Daehan stood up from his command chair. He walked to the main view screen and stared out at the Vexil fleet. These aliens had tried to kill him and his crew 3 times now. They had refused every offer of peace. He had given them every chance. Yuna, he said softly, demonstrate our weapons capability. Choose the lead battleship. Target their shields only. Use a single railgun. Minimum power 15%. Yuna's eyes lit up slightly. She had been waiting for this order. Her fingers moved across her tactical console with practiced precision. Target locked. Railgun 3 charging. Power set to 15%. Projectile loaded. Standard tungsten penetrator 500 tons. Thexvor watched his screens in frustration. His weapons had failed. His entire fleet had failed, but he refused to surrender. The Vexil Empire did not bow to unknown species. Prepare boarding parties, he ordered. If we cannot break their shields, we will send troops through their airlocks. We will take that ship by force. Before his crew could respond, something happened. A section of the human ship's hull opened. A long barrel extended outward, easily 200 meters in length. It looked ancient, almost primitive compared to the sleek energy weapons the Vexil used. It was just a tube. Then it fired. There was no bright flash, no dramatic explosion, just a brief flicker of light at the barrel's end. 500 tons of tungsten, accelerated to 40% the speed of light, crossed the distance between ships in a fraction of a second. The projectile was moving so fast that it appeared as a blur on sensors. It struck Thexavor's flagship dead center. The kinetic energy transfer was instantaneous. The shields of the Vexil battleship, designed to dissipate energy weapons, had no defense against simple mass moving at relativistic speeds. The shields collapsed immediately, overloaded by the sheer momentum, but the projectile kept going. It punched through the flagship's shields, through its armor plating, through the ship itself and out the other side. Then it hit the ship behind the flagship, and the ship behind that one. 3 ships, 1 shot. All 3 vessels had their shields completely destroyed. Armor was torn open. Internal systems sparked and failed. Emergency alarms screamed. Crew members were thrown to the deck. The projectile finally tumbled off into space, its energy mostly spent. Total time from firing to impact: 0.3 seconds. Thexfor picked himself up from the floor of his bridge. Sparks rained down from damaged consoles. Half his crew was injured. His ship was crippled, shields gone, weapons offline, life support barely functioning. What was that? He gasped. His science officer, bleeding from a cut on his head, checked his barely functioning console. Sir, it was a kinetic weapon. A physical projectile, mass of 500 tons, velocity approximately 40% light speed. He looked up at Thexfor with wide eyes. Sir, the energy of that single shot was equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. And they fired it at minimum power. Across the Vexil fleet, panic spread. Every ship had seen what happened. 1 shot, 3 ships disabled, and the humans had said that was minimum power. Thexvor's communication officer managed to get a system working. Sir, incoming message from the human ship. Dr. Rena Song's face appeared on the screen. She looked almost apologetic. Commander Thexfor, that was a demonstration. We used 15% power with a standard projectile. Our railguns can fire at 100% power with armor-piercing rounds. We chose not to do so because we don't want to kill you. She adjusted her glasses and continued. You see, humans have been throwing rocks at each other since we lived in caves. Over thousands of years, we simply got better at it. Much better. Your energy weapons are impressive, but kinetic weapons follow different physics. Mass times velocity. Simple, reliable, and at relativistic speeds, absolutely devastating. Thexfor could barely comprehend what he was hearing. These humans, these unknown aliens, had technology that made the Vexil Empire look primitive. Please stand down, Dr. Rena said gently. We really don't want to hurt anyone else. But Thexfor's pride was wounded beyond repair. He couldn't accept defeat. He reached for his console to send an emergency transmission. All Vexil forces, code red. I am calling for immediate reinforcements from the home fleet. Send everything. This unknown enemy must be destroyed. His transmission went out across Vexil space at faster than light speed. It reached the home fleet within minutes. Aboard the Goliath's Fist, Lieutenant Yunzhou intercepted the message. Captain, enemy commander is calling for reinforcements. From what I can translate, he's requested their entire home fleet. Yuna checked her long-range sensors. Confirmed. I'm detecting multiple faster-than-light signatures. Big ones. I estimate 200 ships inbound. They'll arrive in approximately 10 minutes. Daihan rubbed his temples. He felt a headache coming on. Of course they did. Yuna, call Captain Huang. Tell him to bring the Iron Phoenix out of standby. We're going to need support. Already done, sir. Captain Tae Huang confirms the Iron Phoenix is jumping to our location now. Daihan looked at his crew. They were calm, professional, ready. They trusted him. He would not let them down. All right, everyone. We tried peace. We tried warnings. We tried demonstrations. 200 fresh Vexil warships appeared in formation around the Goliath's Fist. They joined the 47 ships that were still functional from the original fleet. The space around the human vessel was now filled with 247 enemy warships. On the Vexil homeworld, high-ranking officials watched through live transmissions. This was unprecedented. The mighty Vexil Empire had never needed to send such a massive force against a single enemy ship. High Commander Vornak sat in the council chamber, his old eyes fixed on the screens. He had lived for 400 years and fought in dozens of wars, but he had never seen anything like this human vessel. "What is the status?" Vornak asked. A junior officer replied nervously. "Sir, Commander Thexavor's initial force failed to penetrate the enemy shields. One enemy weapon disabled 3 of our battleships. The reinforcement fleet is now in position." Vornak leaned forward. "Tell them to exercise caution. These humans may be more dangerous than we thought." At Border Station Omega-7, Fleet Commander Kexler took charge of the combined forces. He was more experienced than Thexavor, and far less emotional. He studied the human ship carefully. "Analyze their previous attack," Kexler ordered. "Show me exactly what they did." His tactical officer played back the recording. The railgun shot. The 3 disabled ships. Kexler watched it 3 times. "Interesting," he said. "A kinetic weapon. We abandoned such primitive technology centuries ago. But at those speeds," and he paused, "it's actually quite effective. Prepare evasive maneuvers. Do not fly in straight lines. Kinetic weapons must lead their targets." He opened a channel to all ships. "This is Fleet Commander Kexler. All vessels will engage the enemy with coordinated fire. Spread out. Do not cluster together. Use evasive patterns Beta-7. On my mark." Inside the Goliath's fist, Una watched the Vexil fleet reorganizing. "Captain, they're spreading out. Looks like they learned from our last shot. Their new commander is smarter than the first one." "Good," Dehan said. "Smart enemies are better. They're more likely to survive, and survivors can tell others to avoid fighting us." A new ship appeared on the sensors. It was smaller than the Goliath's fist, only 5 kilometers long, but it was clearly human in design. The newcomer took up position behind the Vexil fleet. "Iron Phoenix has arrived," Una reported. "Captain Te Huang sends his greetings and asks if you need him to do anything dramatic." Dehan smiled. Te was an old friend, someone who enjoyed his job a bit too much. "Tell him to hold position and look intimidating. Let's see if 2 human ships makes them think twice." Lieutenant Yoon tried once more to open negotiations. "Commander Kexler, this is the Earth vessel Goliath's Fist. We are still willing to discuss this peacefully. No one else needs to get hurt." Kexler's response was cold. "Unknown vessel, you have damaged Vexil ships and violated our territory. There will be no negotiation. Surrender or be destroyed." Dehan closed his eyes briefly. He had tried. He had really tried. "Una, what's our doctrine in this situation?" Una straightened in her chair. She had studied human military doctrine extensively. "Sir, the human doctrine is clear. We fight only when we must, but when we fight to win decisively. We use overwhelming force to end conflicts quickly, minimizing total casualties. We demonstrate such clear superiority that the enemy loses all will to continue fighting. And we avoid killing when possible," added Medical Officer Nari Lim from her station. She was responsible for monitoring all casualties, including enemy ones. "Sir, so far we've disabled 3 enemy ships with 0 fatalities. If we continue this way, we can win without a single death." Dehan nodded. This was why humanity built Titan-class ships. Not to conquer, but to win battles so decisively that they became unthinkable. Peace through absolute strength. "Sub-Commander Park," Dehan said to his 2nd tactical officer, "analyze their fleet composition." Sub-Commander Quan Park studied the enemy formation. "Sir, they have mostly cruisers and destroyers. About 30 battleships. They're using standard Vexil tactics. Overwhelming numbers and sustained fire. They've never fought an equal opponent before. They don't know how to adapt." "Then let's teach them," Dehan said. "Una, launch our fighter complement. Have Pilot Nam coordinate with the drones." "Yes, sir." Deep in the Goliath's Fist's launch bay's massive doors opened. 300 combat drones launched in perfect formation, each one a sleek fighter craft controlled by advanced artificial intelligence. Behind them came a squadron of 20 manned fighters, led by pilot Wu Nam. Wu was 28 years old and loved flying more than anything else. He whooped with joy as his fighter cleared the launch bay. "Phoenix Squadron, this is Phoenix Leader. Let's show these aliens how humans fly." The Vexil fleet watched in confusion as the small craft approached. Fighters were common in galactic warfare, but they were fragile. Their shields, if they had any at all, could be destroyed by a single shot. Kexler gave the order. "Destroy those fighters. All point defense systems engage." Hundreds of anti-fighter weapons opened fire. Small plasma bolts and particle beams filled space, designed to quickly eliminate unshielded fighter craft. The human drones and fighters weaved through the fire with impossible grace. Their movements were too fast, too precise. But some of the shots connected and bounced off. The human fighters had shields. Personal shields on craft that small should have been impossible. The power requirements alone would drain any small reactor in seconds. But human fighters had miniaturized fusion reactors, the same technology that powered their massive ships, just scaled down. Wu laughed as plasma fire splashed harmlessly off his fighters' shields. Phoenix Squadron, break by pairs. Target enemy weapon systems only. Remember, we're not here to kill, we're here to convince. The human fighters and drones swept through the Vexil fleet like sharks through fish. They moved in coordinated patterns, using tactics developed over centuries of atmospheric and space combat. Each fighter targeted a specific Vexil ship, focusing on weapons and propulsion systems. The drones were particularly effective. They had no human pilots to worry about, so they could pull maneuvers that would kill a living being. They spun, dove, and weaved through incoming fire, then struck with precision lasers that cut through the Vexil ship's weapons. Within 5 minutes, a dozen Vexil ships had lost all their weapons. Within 10 minutes, 20 more were disabled. The human fighters hadn't destroyed a single ship, but they were systematically taking apart the enemy fleet piece by piece. Kexler watched in horror. How are they doing this? Fighters should not be this effective. His science officer had run every analysis possible. Sir, their pilots are highly skilled, but the drones are even better. They're using networked artificial intelligence. Each drone shares information with all the others. They fight as a single unit. And those shields. Their power efficiency is beyond our understanding. On the Goliath's Fist, Captain Dehan monitored the fighter battle. Status report, Yuna checked her displays. Our fighters have disabled 32 enemy ships so far. 0 casualties on either side. The enemy is becoming demoralized. Good. Now let's make sure they understand the bigger picture. Dehan opened a wide band channel. All Vexil ships, this is Captain Dehan. We are currently disabling your fleet without killing anyone. This is intentional. In human warfare, we believe that enemies today can become friends tomorrow. Dead people cannot become friends. He paused to let that sink in. Your shields are failing. Your weapons are being destroyed. But your people are alive. Stand down now and we will cease fire. Continue fighting and we will keep disabling ships. The choice is yours. For a moment it seemed like the message might work. Several Vexil ships stopped firing. Their commanders were considering surrender. Then Commander Thexvor's damaged flagship accelerated forward. His ship was barely functional, held together by emergency repairs. But his pride would not allow him to surrender. For the glory of the Vexil Empire, Thexvor screamed over the communications. I will ram that human ship and show them we do not fear death. His flagship, engines at maximum, charged directly at the Goliath's Fist. Yuna's hands moved to her weapons controls. Captain, I can stop him. No, Dehan said quietly. Let him come. Let him see what happens. The Vexil flagship closed the distance. 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer, 500 meters. Then it hit the Goliath's Fist's shields. The kinetic energy of the ramming ship was enormous. Millions of tons traveling at high speed. It should have caused massive damage. Instead, the Vexil flagship stopped as if it had hit a solid wall. The shields held firm. The impact didn't even register on the Goliath's Fist's internal sensors. The crew barely felt a tremor, but the ramming ship was not so lucky. Its forward section crumpled from the impact. The hull buckled. Systems failed throughout the vessel. Medical Officer Nari checked her readings. Captain, the ramming ship has multiple hull breaches. I'm reading casualties. Should I dispatch rescue teams? Do it. Save as many as you can. Dehan stood up. He had seen enough. These Vexil would not stop through words alone. They needed a demonstration that would make them truly understand. Yuna, recall our fighters. Prepare the gravity lance. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at him. The gravity lance was the Titan-class ship's most powerful weapon. It had never been used in actual combat before. The 3 minutes passed slowly. Both fleets prepared for what might be the final exchange. Inside the Goliath's Fist, the crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment, though they had hoped it would never come. Weapons Officer Sol Kim watched his displays as the gravity lance charged. Power flowed through massive capacitors, building up the energy needed to bend space itself. The weapon was based on principles that most of the galaxy had not even discovered yet. Humans had learned to manipulate gravity through their study of black holes and neutron stars. Gravity lance at 50% charge, Sol reported. 2 minutes remaining. Captain Dahan sat in his command chair, fingers steepled together. He looked calm, but inside he felt the weight of command. Every decision he made could mean life or death for thousands of beings, both his crew and the enemy. Lieutenant Yunjo continued broadcasting peace offers in every language her computer could translate. She spoke in Vexil, in the trade languages of 3 other species, even in basic mathematical sequences that any technological civilization should understand. All of them said the same thing. Please stop. We don't want to hurt you. No one responded. On the Vexil homeworld, High Commander Vornak watched the countdown. He had sent an urgent message to Fleet Commander Kexlar to retreat, but Kexlar had ignored it. Pride. It was always pride that destroyed empires. Can we recall the fleet? Vornak asked. No, sir. Fleet Commander Kexlar has full authority in combat situations. We cannot override his orders. Vornak felt a chill run through his body. He had a terrible feeling that his empire was about to learn a hard lesson. In space, the Vexil fleet prepared their final assault. 247 ships minus the ones already disabled. Each ship charged every weapon they had. This would be everything they could deliver in a single moment. Fleet Commander Kexlar checked his chronometer. 1 minute remaining. He opened a channel to his entire fleet. Warriors of the Vexil Empire, we face an unknown enemy. They are strong, but we are many. Our ancestors built this empire through courage and strength. Today we show these humans that the Vexil do not surrender. Fire on my mark. His crew looked nervous. They had seen what the humans could do. But they trusted their commander. They prepared to fire. Aboard the Goliath's Fist, Dr. Rena Song studied her sensors. She called out to the bridge. Captain, I'm detecting massive power buildup across the enemy fleet. They're preparing a synchronized attack. Every ship will fire simultaneously. How much firepower? Dahan asked. Rena calculated quickly. Combined output equivalent to approximately 200 nuclear weapons. All focused on us. Sub-Commander Quan Park whistled softly. That's actually impressive. If we didn't have Titan-class shields, that might actually hurt. Gravity lance at 90%, Sol reported. 30 seconds. Dahan made his decision. Sol, the moment they fire, you fire. Target the center of their formation. Gravity well setting, 0.5. Radius 10 kilometers. Duration 30 minutes. Understood, sir. On Captain Tay Huang's ship, the Iron Phoenix, the crew watched the standoff. Tay's first officer asked, Sir, should we assist? Tay shook his head. The Goliath's Fist doesn't need our help. We're just here in case more enemies show up. Besides, I want to see the gravity lance in action. I've only seen it in simulations. Is it really as powerful as they say? Tay grinned. More powerful. Just watch. The final seconds counted down. Fleet Commander Kexlar gave the order. All ships fire! 215 Vexil warships fired at once. The combined energy was staggering. Plasma bolts, particle beams, missiles, kinetic projectiles, and weapons humans had never seen before. All of it converged on the Goliath's Fist. The space around the human ship turned white with energy. The light was so intense that it could be seen from the Vexil homeworld, billions of kilometers away. It was the most powerful attack the Vexil Empire had ever launched. Lieutenant Jin Lee watched her shield monitors. Shields holding. Power at 89%, 88%, 87%. Still well within safe limits, Engineer Bin confirmed. Reactor at 70% capacity. We have plenty of power. The barrage continued. The Vexil poured everything they had into breaking the human shields. Weapons overheated. Power cells depleted. Some ships had to cease fire as their systems shut down to prevent permanent damage. Finally, after 2 full minutes of sustained fire, the Vexil fleet ran out of ammunition and power. The light faded. The space cleared. The Goliath's Fist remained untouched. Shields at 83%, not a scratch on the hull. Gravity lance fully charged, Sol announced. Ready to fire on your command. Dahan stood up. He walked to the view screen and looked at the Vexil fleet. So many ships. So many lives. He had given them every chance. Now he had to show them why fighting humanity was futile. Fire. A section of the Goliath's Fist's hull opened. A different weapon emerged, larger than the railguns. It looked like a massive dish pointed at the center of the Vexil formation. There was no visible beam. No flash of light. Nothing dramatic, but suddenly 100 Vexil ships jerked sideways. They began moving toward a single point in space drawn together by an invisible force. Ships that tried to use their engines to pull away found they couldn't move. Their propulsion systems burned at maximum, but they were being pulled by something far stronger. Gravity. The Goliath's fist had created an artificial gravity well, a region of space where gravity suddenly increased to match that of a small planet. The Vexil ships caught in this well were being pulled together like metal to a magnet. "What is happening?" Kexlar screamed. His ship was moving against his will, drawn toward the center of the formation. "Engines at full reverse." "Break free?" His engineer checked the readings. "Sir, we can't. We're caught in a gravity field. It's like we're falling into a planet, except there's no planet there. The humans created it artificially." The Vexil ships tumbled together, unable to control their movement. They didn't collide. The gravity was precise enough to prevent that, but they were trapped, held in place by invisible chains of warped space. 100 ships, completely immobilized. Dr. Rena Song explained to the bridge crew, though they already understood. The gravity lance creates a localized gravitational field. We're essentially making a small planet's worth of gravity appear in empty space. The ships are falling toward the center of this field, but they'll never reach it because the field is stable. They'll just hang there, trapped. "For how long?" asked Lieutenant Yoon. 30 minutes as ordered. Then the field will dissipate and they'll be free. Medical Officer Nari scanned the trapped ships. No casualties. All crew members are alive. Some injuries from the sudden acceleration, but nothing fatal. "Our doctrine is holding, Captain." Daehan nodded, but he noticed that more than 100 Vexil ships were still free. They hadn't been caught in the gravity well. "Unit status of remaining enemy vessels." Una checked her tactical display. 115 ships still mobile, sir. They're not moving. I think they're in shock. The remaining Vexil ships floated in space, their commanders staring at the impossible. 100 of their comrades trapped by artificial gravity, a weapon that didn't destroy, but rendered resistance completely useless. Fleet Commander Kexelar's ship was one of the trapped ones. He hung weightless as his ship's artificial gravity compensated for the external field. He looked at his screens, at his trapped fleet, at the human ships that had done this with apparently minimal effort. "How much power did they use?" he asked his engineer. "Based on our readings, their reactor is at 70% capacity, sir. They used about 30% of their power to create that gravity field." 30%, Kexlar repeated. They disabled 100 ships with 30% of their power. What could they do at full power? No one had an answer. On the Vexil homeworld, High Commander Vornak stood up from his chair. The council chamber was completely silent. Everyone had watched the gravity lance in action. Everyone understood what it meant. "Send a message to all Vexil forces," Vornak said quietly. "Cease all hostilities with the humans immediately. Order Fleet Commander Kexlar to surrender if the humans demand it. This war is over." A junior officer hesitated. "Sir, we have never surrendered." "Not in 3,000 years," Vornak turned to him with ancient sad eyes. "Then it is time we learned humility. These humans have shown us something important. They could have destroyed our entire fleet. They chose not to. They could have killed thousands. They chose not to. That is the mark of a truly powerful civilization, not one that can destroy but one that can spare." Back in space, Captain Daehan opened a channel to all Vexil ships. His voice was firm but not cruel. "This is Captain Daehan of Earth. You have now seen what human technology can do. We have disabled over 100 of your ships without killing anyone. We have withstood your most powerful attacks without difficulty. We have used 41% of our reactor capacity." He paused to let that sink in. The humans had done all this at less than half power. "I'm going to be very clear with you," Daehan continued. "We came here in peace. You chose war. Now you understand why humanity builds ships like the Goliath's Fist. We build them because we know what war is. We've fought each other for thousands of years." 3 hours after the battle ended, a small diplomatic shuttle approached the Goliath's Fist. Inside the shuttle sat Fleet Commander Kexelar, High Commander Vornak, who had traveled from the homeworld, and 5 other Vexil officials. They were about to board a human ship as defeated enemies. Kexelar looked out the viewport at the massive human vessel. Up close, it was even more impressive. The hull was covered in weapons, armor plating, and technology he couldn't identify. This was a ship built for war, yet its crew had shown remarkable restraint. "Are you afraid?" Vornak asked quietly. "Yes," Kexler admitted. "But I'm also curious. What kind of species builds such power but chooses not to use it fully?" The shuttle docked with the Goliath's fist. The airlock opened, and the Vexil delegation stepped into human territory for the first time. They were met by Captain Dae Han, Commander Yuna, Dr. Rena Song, and Ambassador Mina Bay, who had just arrived from Earth specifically for this meeting. The humans wore formal uniforms, clean and professional. They did not carry weapons, showing trust despite recent events. Ambassador Mina stepped forward. She was older than Dae Han, perhaps 50 years old, with kind eyes and graying hair. "High Commander Vornak, Fleet Commander Kexler, welcome aboard the Goliath's Fist. I am Ambassador Mina Bay of Earth. Thank you for agreeing to talk." Vornak bowed slightly, a gesture of respect in Vexil culture. "Ambassador, we come not as equals but as the defeated. Your people have shown us something we did not believe possible." "Please," Mina said warmly, "come to our conference room. We have much to discuss." The conference room was simple but comfortable. A large table with chairs designed for various body types, screens on the walls showing star maps, and windows looking out at the stars, at the Vexil fleet still recovering from the battle. Once everyone was seated, Ambassador Mina began. "Let me start by saying that Earth regrets the conflict. We came in peace and wish to continue in peace." Commander Thexfor, who had also been brought to the meeting, could not contain himself. "You speak of peace while carrying weapons that can trap ships in artificial gravity, while building vessels that dwarf anything in the galaxy." Dae Han spoke gently. "Commander, we carry those weapons precisely because we want peace. Let me explain something about humans." He stood up and walked to a wall screen. Images appeared. Ancient humans fighting with stone tools, then metal weapons, then guns, then missiles, then nuclear explosions. "This is our history," Dae Han said. "For most of our existence, we fought each other. Tribe against tribe, nation against nation. We invented increasingly powerful weapons. 500 years ago, we created weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. We nearly destroyed ourselves. More images appeared. Destroyed cities, people suffering, environmental damage. We came very close to extinction. Not from aliens, from ourselves. We finally learned that survival required cooperation. We unified our planet. Not through conquest, but through choice. We decided to become one species with one goal, to survive and grow." Dr. Rena added to the explanation. "Our technology evolved from that need to survive. Our fusion reactors came from trying to solve our energy crisis. Our shields came from trying to contain those reactors. Our weapons came from wanting to defend ourselves, not attack others." The Vexil delegation listened carefully. "This was a very different story from what they expected," Ambassador Mina continued. "We built Titan-class ships because we knew that space would have species like yours. Strong, proud, possibly aggressive. We wanted to ensure that when we met you, we would meet as equals. Not as conquerors or as victims, but as equals." Vornak spoke thoughtfully. "You built such power to avoid being conquered. That is actually wise. But you have 7 of these Titan-class ships?" "Yes, and larger ones. The Goliath's Fist is medium-sized for its class." The Vexil exchanged shocked looks. The ship that had defeated their entire fleet was only medium-sized. Kexler asked the question everyone was thinking. "Why didn't you destroy our ships?" "You could have. Why show mercy?" Captain Dae Han sat down and looked directly at Kexler. "Because today's enemy can become tomorrow's friend. You attacked us, yes. But from your perspective, we were invaders. You didn't know us. You acted to defend your territory. I can respect that." He gestured to the window where Vexil ships floated. "Every person on those ships is someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend. Why would I kill them if I don't have to? What would that achieve? Dead people cannot learn. Dead people cannot become allies. Dead people cannot teach their children to avoid war." The room was silent for a long moment. The Vexil had never considered warfare this way. In their culture, victory meant destroying the enemy completely. The idea of winning while preserving the enemy was foreign. Ambassador Mina placed a document on the table. "This is a proposed treaty. Earth wishes to establish diplomatic relations with the Vexil Empire. We propose mutual respect of territorial boundaries, establishment of trade routes, and exchange of certain technologies. You would share your technology with us? Vornak asked in disbelief. After we attacked you? Some technology, yes. Not weapons, obviously. But medical advances, agricultural improvements, energy efficiency, things that help people live better lives. We believe that prosperous neighbors make better neighbors than poor, desperate ones. Dr. Rena opened another document. We've also prepared a proposal to establish an academy for scientific exchange. Vexil scientists and human scientists working together. We think both our species could learn from each other. Over the next 3 hours, they discussed terms. The Vexil Empire agreed to recognize human territory. They agreed to reduce military aggression against other species. They agreed to open trade relations. In return, Earth would share non-military technology. They would establish an embassy on the Vexil homeworld. They would help the Vexil improve their energy systems and medical technology. It was a fair treaty. Not one that humiliated the Vexil, but one that acknowledged the new reality. Humanity was now a major power in the galaxy. As the meeting concluded, Vornak asked one final question. Ambassador Mina, what does Earth want from the galaxy? You have the power to conquer. What is your goal? Mina smiled. We want what any species wants. To explore, to learn, to grow, to survive. We want to find friends among the stars. We want to discover new things. We want to ensure that humanity has a future. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to live in it peacefully if possible. And if not peacefully? Kexler asked. Dehan answered. Then we defend ourselves. We've proven we can do that. The treaty was signed, the first formal agreement between Earth and an alien species. The news spread across the galaxy at faster than light speeds. Within days, every major civilization knew about humanity. They knew about the Titan-class ships. They knew about the battle at Border Station Omega-7. Most importantly, they knew that humans had won decisively without destroying the enemy. Across the galaxy, species reacted in different ways. The Korith, a trading civilization, immediately sent diplomats to Earth. They saw opportunity in these powerful but peaceful newcomers. The Palin, a scientific species, requested permission to study human technology. They were fascinated by the fusion reactors and gravity manipulation. The small, oppressed species that lived under Vexil domination saw hope for the first time in generations. If the mighty Vexil had been humbled, perhaps freedom was possible. Even other major powers took notice. The Zenith Collective, which controlled a different sector of space, sent observers to watch human activities. They wanted to know if humans were a threat or an opportunity. On Earth, Admiral Hannah Park sat in her office, reading reports from across the galaxy. The response to humanity's first contact was overwhelmingly positive. Dozens of species wanted to meet them. Trade offers flooded in. Scientific exchange proposals arrived daily. She opened a communication to the Goliath's fist. Day, you started something big. Captain Dehan appeared on her screen, looking tired but satisfied. We just did our job, Hannah. Defended ourselves and tried not to make a mess of it. You did more than that. You showed the galaxy who we are. Strong but fair. Powerful but peaceful. I'm proud of you and your crew. Thank you. Are we coming home? Soon. But first I'm sending 3 more Titan-class ships to that sector. Just to make sure everyone understands that the Goliath's fist isn't a one-time thing. I'm also sending Ambassador Mina with a full diplomatic team. She'll establish our first galactic embassy on the Vexil homeworld. Dehan smiled. Mina will do well. She's already made friends with Vornak. I think he likes her. Of course he does. She's impossible not to like. That's why she's our best ambassador. They talked for a few more minutes before ending the call. Dehan returned to his bridge where his crew was preparing the ship for the journey home. Engineer Bin approached him. Captain, I've been thinking. We used less than half our power to defeat that entire fleet. What would we have done at full power? Hopefully we'll never need to find out, Dehan said. The point of having overwhelming power is so you never have to use it fully. Engineer Ho Yoon, who had been helping with repairs, added, Sir, the Vexil engineers asked me about our reactors. They couldn't believe how efficient they are. I think they're going to completely rebuild their power systems based on our designs.